Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me inside the Booknick room. So this is the second room inside the virtual co-working space, and we will have a book club in here every month. And right now, the book that we are focusing on is Think and Grow Rich. I did sort of mention about a lot of the accountability stuff that I do actually comes from this book. And also, I wanted to show you guys, as we're in the Booknick, there is this seat that I'm sat in, which is for presenting. So, I mean, obviously, I do the book club every month and I'm presenting it. But if you guys ever want to do a presentation inside this co-working space, it's not just for me, it's for everyone. So, although in this session I'm presenting, so I'll be in the presenter seat, you know, if you guys come and tell me I'd like to do a book club for this particular book and, you know, can you send out an email, get everyone gathered around, then you're more than welcome to do that. I would love for you to come in this space and use it for yourself as well. So all you have to do is contact us and tell us the date and the time and everything that you want to do the session. We'll make sure it doesn't conflict with anything else. And then you're welcome to use this space to be able to host sessions in here. So right now I'm in a presenter seat, and you can see also I'm in a circle cam, and there's also a share seat up here. So the thing I like about these collaborative spaces, and I've just jumped from the presenter to the sharer, is that, you know, we needed to kind of figure out a way where we weren't all talking over on top of each other, because when we first started this in the beta, we had a situation where everyone was joining the room and some people were like asking a question, there might have been a slight delay, and then somebody else was asking a question over the top. So I created these little spaces, and you'll see them throughout the area where you can kind of jump in and, you know, sort of open up your mic. So most of the time we have our mics off, unless we're in like a communal space like the cafe, the Nomad Cafe or something like that. But if you want to actually talk and share, and we'll have like a meeting about, for example, the book club, then you'll be able to kind of jump into one of these chairs or these spaces and open up your mic and start talking. But otherwise, it's best to keep your mic closed. As in the first session, we saw that when there was a bit of background noise from someone. So that's another thing that I wanted to kind of share with you and talk to you about. So this book nook is for the monthly book club. Like I say, we're doing Think and Grow Rich now. It's the complete classic text from Napoleon Hill. And we actually started the book club last month, and we started doing the 13 steps, or the 13 principles, or the steps to riches. And we did desire last month, and then this month we're coming up on faith. Now, I won't do a full book club session today, only because I know a few people are missing. So I'm wondering whether they got the emails about coming today into this new space, because obviously normally we're in a other space, in a different space, and I'd really love them to be able to attend. But there are a few things that I want to kind of share about how we go about putting these book clubs together. Now, what I would suggest you do is whatever book we're studying or looking at, grab a copy of that. You can always find them online, to be honest with you, or we also do, and we will be doing some kind of notes for people if they don't have the book. So that's something we're introducing this month as well. And we kind of go ahead and highlight, like I go ahead in the chapter or whatever I'm looking at, and just highlight really specific things that I think will be really useful for you to know. So like right now we're doing this book, but we can do other books, and obviously you get to choose other books as well if you want to do them. And if you want to hold a book club session for a different book than the one I'm hosting every month, then you can host your own session for your own book. That's absolutely fine. The thing I wanted to share with you, particularly about this chapter, and I'll just give you a general kind of summary overview of this chapter. It's about developing faith. Now, I know we talk about faith in a religious sense or something like that, but for me, the faith is really about believing in something. You know, it could be God, it could be believing in yourself, it could be believing in your business, it could be believing in a project. But there are very specific emotions that come together to back up faith. So this was an interesting point inside this book. And they say the emotions are faith, love, and sex, and then are the most powerful of all the major positive emotions. So these are all emotions of deep feeling and love. And this is why it's always so important. And this message is so important in this book, is that you really do have to do what you love. And I've coached and trained a lot of virtual assistants over the years. I've been doing it since 2011. And for sure, not everyone has had the same success. There's been varied degrees of success. We've had people completely give up and don't want to do it anymore. We've had people be super, super successful. And I can say the virtual assistants who did turn out to be really super successful are the ones that really did love what they were doing, and they weren't just doing it for the reasons of, I need to make some money. And they were also very much attached, the ones that were successful, maybe not necessarily to the job. You know, if they were administrators, some of them may not love the job, but they love the reason why they were doing it, you know. And I'm a work-at-home mom. I have 5 kids. And for me, one of the things particularly in the early days, was a big driving factor was to not have to go out to work and to be at home with my kids. And that was something I was very passionate about and really wanted more than anything. It was also in the very beginning when I started my business, I was passionate about travel. I came out of the UK. I got a one-way ticket out of the UK to start traveling. That was 19 years ago. I've never been back, only for holidays, obviously. And for me, the passion behind the reason why I was building my virtual assistant business, I believe, is what was the driving force of the whole thing. It was passion, it was love, it was desperately knowing that the business would be able to provide me with some of the biggest goals that I had in my life. You know, first of all, to travel, first of all, to, you know, not have to go back to employment. That was a big one for me. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to command my own day. And I was very passionate about that. So virtual assistants was something I kind of fell into by default, because back up, 19 years ago, there wasn't that many things that I could think of that I could do that would allow me to have the lifestyle that I wanted. And this is why I'm a big believer in marrying your business with lifestyle choices and making that happen. And this is why I love this book, Think and Grow Rich, because it really is about marrying your business with your lifestyle choices. So for me, always, I think about, what do I want out of my life? And then how will my business fit in with that? And that's weaving through all of my training, through everything. It's so important and so paramount. So really think about how faith and belief in the outcome of what you're doing is so important. And this book really does touch on that. But it's about how you really feel about it, and if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you might not have the success that you want to see. And all I can say is that every VA I've worked with who's really doing it for the right reasons and really is passionate about those reasons has been successful. And you'll meet some of them throughout this festival. We're in the co-working space right now. This is our open day here. But from tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going into our festival space. It looks completely different. It's a lot of fun. And we are going to be meeting other VAs who have been through similar processes, and some of the ones that I've coached and trained who have actually really full on made it as a virtual assistant. And it's funny because one of the people that we were talking to, she was desperate to be a stay-at-home mum, have her own business. She did it, Another one was desperate to travel and move abroad and live in Spain. And I was, when I met her and I started coaching her, she was living in Scotland, and by the end of coaching her, she was living in Spain. I mean, it was just incredible because the passion was there. I can say, a lot of people say, oh, you have to take the credit and things like that, but it's really not. If you just have the guidance to help steer you in the right direction, but you've got that faith and that passion and that love, or a reason to be doing it because it's something you love, and something you really want, then you will naturally develop that faith. And I'll tell you how. You will develop it through the constant focus on that thing that you really want. We talked about that in the previous session. It's about that constant focus, you know, like when you really want something, it's almost like you obsess over it. And that's what we talked about in the first chapter with desire. It's about becoming obsessed with the thing that you want. And always when I'm super successful with something, it's because I've really become obsessed with it. If anything is like an afterthought, then, you know, I wouldn't expect to see really mega massive results from it. But if you focus on it and think about it and it consumes you and you're constantly thinking, what am I going to do to get there? How am I going to make this happen? What am I going to do to make this work? You'll find things just start moving around you and coming towards you, the things that you really, really need. And it's really incredible how so many people have said to me, God, you've come at just the right time. You know, I just stumbled upon your, you know, like your training for just the right time. No worries, Joanne Marie. We'll see you a bit later. So, and welcome, Susan. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so it's really, really interesting how a lot of people say, oh, I was thinking about this and then something from you popped up on your feed, or I got an email from you and it was just the right message at the right time, and that's how things start to work. So a couple of things and passages I wanted to share out of this book, which I think are going to be really useful for you, and I wanted to give you something to take away from the book nook today. Acquire the ability to transmute the intangible thought impulse of desire into its physical counterpart, money. Okay, so I always find with this book, I have to like really think about the translation, because, you know, like these older style books, you know, the language in them is quite, I would say, not our modern style of language. But that to me was quite a difficult sentence to read. I'm not much of a reader, to be honest. But this really hit home about how you have to transmute the intangible things that you cannot see, into money. These are your thoughts. These are the things that you create in your mind. Convince the subconscious mind that you believe you will receive that for which you ask, and it will act on that belief. And that is so true. And this is why we do, welcome Emma, this is why we do these accountability sessions every day in the accountability room, because we want to convince the subconscious mind through visualization, through taking action, through feeling gratitude and happiness for what's going on around us, and for focusing on the goal. We do that because we want to literally convince our subconscious mind that everything that we want has already happened. Hey Anna. The next thing out of this book is repetition of affirmation of orders to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntary development of the emotion of faith. Okay, now this was written a very long time ago, and I'm sure they probably actually come up with a few more, but back in the day, that was all they knew that they had control of, or how to control the outcome of things. It was by repetition of affirmation. So always in my accountability sessions, I do an affirmation, I share an affirmation, maybe something resonates with you, or create your own affirmation. But it's again, consistently repeating the things that you want to occur and doing that on a daily basis. Let's take a look at the next one. All thoughts which have been emotionalized, given feeling, and mixed with faith begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent or counterpart. That always reminds me of a story from years and years ago, and if you've known me for years, then you'll probably know this story, but I won the lottery once, and it wasn't intentional. I didn't even have a ticket. But at the time, many, many years ago, I had a very questionable boyfriend who thought it would be a good idea to take my credit card out of my purse and go and purchase a car on it, which he did on eBay. And I've done talks on this story because it's just so incredible, but it's a classic example of what this book talks about. So I was really panicking because back at the time I didn't have a lot of money. My credit cards were there for emergencies, or if I needed to put a big purchase on something and it, or pay something off monthly or something like that. So I really didn't have any bandwidth to be paying off a car. So this came in one day, and I was like, oh my god, like there's been like some fraudulent transaction. He was like, oh, that was me, I bought a car, I needed a car. So what happened in the end, I was so worried about not being able to pay this back because it was about £2,500 on the credit card. I was so worried because I did not have the money and I could not pay it back. But for some reason, subconsciously, I kept telling myself, don't worry, Michelle, you'll find the money. And I kept telling myself, I'll find the money, I'll find the money, I'll find the money from somewhere. I don't know where, but I'll find the money from somewhere. And I obsessed over it because I was working in banking at the time. I was in finance. So for me, it was horrendous that I'd like maybe got into trouble financially because I was so anal about it, to be honest with you. And then one day I was in a newsagent's and I walked outside the newsagent's, and it was in England, it was cold and wet and rainy, and on the floor, on the ground, outside the newsagent's was a lottery ticket, a wet, dirty lottery ticket. And part of my mind, my brain told me, pick it up and go take it in, you never know. And another part told me, obviously, if it was a winning lottery ticket, somebody would have claimed it. Don't pick that up off the ground. Anyway, I didn't listen to my logical brain. I just followed my instinct and my intuition, and I picked it up and I took it back inside the newsagent's where I just came out. And I said, can you run this ticket through? They had to type it in because it couldn't go through the machine. It was soaking wet. And I'd won on that ticket £2,500, which I then proceeded to claim and pay back the credit card. For me, that was the most phenomenal thing that had ever happened to me in my entire life. But back then I was thinking to myself, oh, what a coincidence. Like, that was just so lucky. But in the end, as I got older and wiser, I realized I had created my own luck, and I had manifested that from my constant focus on telling myself this affirmation that I will find the money. Affirmation is featured very, very, very heavily in this book. Now, the next thing that I want to share with you is that we are also creators of the things we don't want, okay? So we talked about that a little bit. Mixed with any of the positive emotions or any of the negative emotions may reach and influence the subconscious mind, okay? So no matter what we give our energy and our emotion and our attention to, whether it's the worry of, are we going to pay the bills, or what's going to happen, or I might get sick, or I might fail, or I might, if we're giving our energy and our emotion into that, that's what we're going to get. So we are creators of our own misfortunes. Now, there are other things in play, obviously, like things that we cannot control. But the one thing we really can control, and we have the ability to control, is our mind, is our thoughts, is the things that we focus on. We can choose to have better thoughts. And when we do, that's when our life changes. And oftentimes when I'm working with virtual assistants and we're doing coaching or masterminding and things like that, and I do a lot of listening, of course, you know, I like to listen and things, and people tell me what's going on, you know, what's happened, how their stories are panning out. And you can almost hear from how someone talks or what people say, what trajectory they're going on in their business. It's not based around the knowledge, the skills, the things that they can do, the things that they can't do, any of that. All that can be acquired, you know, knowledge can be acquired. But it's the belief in themselves and what can happen in their business. So many times I hear someone say, I want to reduce my rates because no one will be able to afford them, you know. That is absolute rubbish. There's definitely people out there who will be able to afford your rate no matter what your rate is. You know, things like that. Oh my gosh, there we go. Sorry, I lost you there for a second. So things like that are super, super important. So basically, it's really about thinking about, I'm going to think these thoughts, have these things in my mind, and they're going to occur. So be very conscious and very aware of what those are. The next thing that I want to share with you, the mind comes finally to take on the nature of the influences which dominate it. So to me, when I think about influences, I think about the people around me. Now, if someone is supportive of me, encouraging me, saying, this is great, well done, like, look what you've created, fantastic, da da da, I immediately feel better about what I'm doing. If there are people around me who are unsupportive, it's not working, that's not very good, who's going to buy that, who's going to want that, then obviously that's going to start bringing you down. So you really need to work your emotional muscles. But I would say you also really need to think about the company you keep and who you listen to as well. This is another thing that came out of this chapter for me, about the company we keep and what's influencing us in our business. And this is another reason why I love and created co-working space, because there are so many of us in our normal environments who are around people who do not understand what we do, okay? So it's very, very rare that I can talk to somebody in my circle of offline friends who have regular jobs, or amongst my family, and I've been doing this for 19 years. Like, it's very rare that I can say something to someone about my day or what I'm working on and have them truly understand what that means. And I think it's very important to surround yourself and to surround ourselves as a community with people who understand and get what we're doing, who really can say, I think you should do this, or this is really great, or look at what you've accomplished, and actually support you in the growth of what you're doing and support you in the growth of your business. Because most of the time I end up with blank stares, or people not really quite sure what I'm talking about and things like that. But when I come in my virtual co-working space and I talk to people in here, I'm talking to like a second family of people who totally get me. And that's what I really wanted to create in this space. And this is why I would love to support the members of virtual co-working space, not just in developing their businesses and creating community and networking. Sure, that's all part of it. But it's about really pushing forward with the collective consciousness of success in the online world, and supporting and helping people through that to also provide that positive energy which is going to help them become successful and get what they want. So that was another thing. Then definitely, as we're coming to the end of this session, we don't have time to finish the chapter. There's one more thing that I really, really wanted to share with you inside this book, and you can actually find this online. And it's the self-confidence formula, right? So if you take away nothing today from this book or from this talk, then what I would definitely suggest you do is go and look up Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich self-confidence formula. It's right here. It's right here. There's several steps to it. There's a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. And then basically what you do is you have to keep reading this to yourself daily. Because if you feel like you lack confidence, or you feel like you're not quite getting where you want to be, or you feel like you see yourself thinking, am I doing something wrong? Am I not doing this right? Have I missed something? Am I even good enough for this? Because of, whether it's because of your own beliefs in yourself or what somebody else has kind of like impacted or projected onto you, then this is something you need to do. And I'm going to read the self-confidence formula now for you. So first, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment. And I here and now promise to render such action. If you can commit to this yourself, your life and your business and everything around you is going to change. Second, I realized the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Now, it says here you've got to do that for 30 minutes. Ideally, it would be a wonderful thing to do that for 30 minutes. I do it for 1 minute a day and it works. So what I can say to you is, yes, the longer you can do it, the visualization, the thinking about what you look like, how you act, how you speak, where you are at the end of achieving your goal, even if you can just do it for 1 minute a day and the accountability, it has impact. I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object at the back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. We all need self-confidence. This book helps with that. This self-confidence formula helps with that. Read and repeat it every single day. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life. This should be what we read in the daily accountability every morning. And I will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Again, nobody achieves success in anything when they're constantly telling themselves they're not good enough or they don't deserve it. Okay, because again, you get what you concentrate on. So self-confidence is required to say, yes, I'm good enough, I deserve it, I can have this. And then at that point, you'll find that things start to change and shift in the direction that you want it to go in. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use in the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a self-reliant and successful person. I strongly recommend you get this book, give it a good read, join us in the book club every month. We'll have another chat about the next chapter then next month, but faith is this current chapter and the self-confidence formula is the real big takeaway from that one. So thank you so much for joining me in this session. We only have a couple of minutes left in this room before we go into the next one. And all I can say to you is if you want to hang out, if you want to ask me anything, you're more than welcome right now. And if not, I will see you in the next session. And just so you guys know, I have put all the session schedule inside the main reception area. So if you click exit, in here in this room, you'll be able to go back and check out when the next session is, and I'll look forward to seeing you then.